this is a two-part question I'd like to close with, right? You've talked in the past of some concerns that you see regarding NFV. You said, Ray, people look at this silo type box, right? And they say, oh, let me just create an NFV, VNF out of this. So they're going from silo to silo, right?
Yeah.
And you express concerns about it. So I want to know why that's the case, right? And then, and if you could address that, but then the next piece is to say is, from that point of view, how does HP approach their customers a little bit different with some of these solutions? And is the product real?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. So
long question. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
So if you think about this transition, it's
Right.
quite broad.
Right.
So it includes both the functions themselves,
Right.
but also the connectivity infrastructure that creates services from these functions.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when looking at the transition,
Mm-hmm.
if you come at the transition from a very narrow function approach,
Right.
which in the past has been like the normal way of going from generation to generation of a function. Okay, I've got this next generation box.
Mm-hmm.
It does everything the previous plus all these features,
Right.
blah, 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 new technology, faster, blah, blah. But essentially, you stay within that world.
Yeah.
If you take that same approach to virtualization,
Mm-hmm.
what you end up with is what we call a fat VNF.
Okay.
Okay, the fat VNF includes everything that you had in the proprietary platform. It's running software on servers, on hypervisor, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you look inside, it includes a piece of the infrastructure that we call the dynamic networking part.
Right.
So you have the actual specific function,
Function of it.
and then you have the common networking part, which enables scaling, distribution, subscriber awareness, service function chaining, all the load balancing, all the common networking functions.
Right.
The problem is if you do this on a function by function basis, then you end up with this common piece of dynamic networking implemented multiple times in different ways, which causes complexity.
Right.
As opposed to the way we try to think about it, where you want to get to is a common infrastructure that has all these networking capabilities built in.
Right.
And then the functions themselves can be what we call fit VNFs.
Okay.
They only are focused on their unique functions. That is kind of the long-term view. But we're not naive. Obviously, when facing such a transition, the big question is, okay, so how do I start?
Yes.
So what we say is, yes, you're going to do an initial use case. First, you're not going to do everything at once, right? You'll do an initial use case, but even with that initial use case, think about the fact that you want an infrastructure that will support additional use cases up front. Okay. Which brings to the second part of the question. So, how is HP's approach, different? We take a very horizontal approach, right? If we simplify how we view the end-to-end, NFD, SDN architecture, you can think of it like a sandwich, right? There's like the bottom horizontal piece, which includes the hardware infrastructure and the virtualization software infrastructure that includes OpenStack, SDN control, and so on. And then you have the top part of the sandwich, which is like the orchestration, the OSS, and so on. Okay, and in the middle you have the network functions. Okay. The way HPE approaches this is we're focused on providing a great horizontal infrastructure both at the bottom and the orchestration and OSS at the top. And we partner with a very large ecosystem that we helped create, the OpenNFV Partnership Program, for the various VNFs, with the assumption that over time, that is going to be the dynamic part of the industry.
Right, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You invest in your infrastructure in order to enable dynamic changes
right,
in your functions.
Right, exactly,
and you can do that more readily if you simplify those functions and you have just the specific functions. In fact, this approach lowers the bar on adding new functions. You can have now startups bringing functions because they're only focused on a function. They don't need to bring a huge box, right? You can use open source components as functions. You can have the carrier themselves, add their own proprietary functions into this. So that's kind of the attitude. It's a horizontal play. Yes, we do some functions ourselves, but the philosophy is the dynamic function layer that is mainly based on this ecosystem.
Yeah. It's important to have the ecosystem be successful in this.
Exactly.
Well, you're officially off the hot seat.
Thanks, Ray.
Wignadam from HPE. I'm Ray Mota. Thanks for joining this edition of the Hot Seat.